Hey guys, super fast. I want to do a quick little video about tolerances, and I might do two because that way they can be short. So let me show you the presentation from the beginning. All right, it's called Tolerate This, section 2.1.1. So we're going to talk today about variation. Variation means that things are different, basically. You have variation within a certain species, you have variation within populations. If you make something, it's going to have variation between one to the next to the next. It's just basically saying, hey, two things that are the same type of thing, they're still different. Or, hey, here's something, but it's different from the ideal. So some examples. You've seen examples all your life. Leaves are never exactly the same. They might not even be symmetrical. They change color at a different rate. They have different veining slightly patterns, even on the same tree. Facial symmetry. Your face is not 100% symmetrical left to right. That's why if you look at yourself in the mirror and then you look at a photograph of yourself, it doesn't quite look exactly the same, and it kind of throws you off sometimes when you're doing that. These examples are of somebody who's taken a photograph of a model, and what they've done is they've mirrored one side of the face, like the left side on the left, and they've mirrored the right side on the right. And so you can see that they are actually symmetrical down this line here, but they look slightly weird. They're not quite normal. I mean, they're beautiful, they're models, but they're not quite, something's a little off because we're used to seeing a little bit of variation from left to right on people's faces. And also when your expression looks flat, it looks weird. So within the species, you look at all the people around you, we're all a little bit different, even though we're all humans. You look at the dogs are all a little bit different. Even ones that are the same breed of dog are a little bit different. They may have different color patterns, they may have slightly different shapes of their face, etc. Snowflakes. We always say no two snowflakes are identical. Probably not. There's billions and billions and billions of different ways that snowflakes can form, and they all have the same 6 points. They all got that in common. They're made of water. They're frozen water, but they're all a little tiny bit different. Even if you're making things like cookies are not always going to be the same from one to the other. Pottery, if you're making pottery, they're not always going to be the same. You're going to have a little bit of variation. You're going to push harder in this spot. It's going to be a little bit thinner in this spot on this particular ornament than on that ornament. The cookie cutter, you may have turned it or twisted it a little bit. You may have a pattern that you've rolled on. You may have glazing that's different. Your blocks, they're not always going to be the same size. For example, Lego. Lego are all going to be kind of the same because they're going to fit together. They're still not identical, but they're close enough that they're all going to fit together. But they're not always going to fit with other kinds of blocks, and other kinds of blocks are not always going to be exactly the same. If you had the caliper exercise in class with me, you measured some of those blocks. You got like 1.612, 1.617. Everyone got something slightly different, usually in the thousands place, so they're not all the same. Even my Vex pieces that are machined to fit together don't always fit together right. I don't know why. Variation is inevitable. So even if you make the same kind of thing, you're going to use the same materials, the same conditions, the same equipment, if they're exactly the same, you did the same method each time, they're not going to be identical. That's just the way it is. So we have to decide as a company, for example, if I'm designing a product or if I need to manufacture the product, how much variation is acceptable? For Lego, not much. For something like wooden blocks made from China that kids are going to play with, it doesn't matter as much. Maybe if it's something like I need to have a certain weight in my food so I can tell you the nutrition information, maybe the weight of the ingredients matters, but what it looks like doesn't matter. How big it is doesn't matter. I can shape it differently, right? If you're working with a company that's manufacturing, what can you expect realistically? How is their machinery going to work? Are they going to be able to build this to your specifications for your product? And how much is that going to cost? So a lot of the time, we've got to worry about how we're going to communicate what we need. And I'm going to take a break right here because that's a good video, and I've got to go to duty. Let me find my recorder. That's not it. I'll see you guys next video.